Good afternoon, gentlemen. It's 5:30. Today is Wednesday, January the 10th, 2018. I now call this regular meeting for the San Juan EDC Economic Development Corporation to order. We'll begin with our first item on the agenda is roll call. Begin with my right, please. State your name and title.
Ben Acona, Interim Executive EDC Director.
Pedro Contreras, board member.
Neto Jaro, City Council.
Jesse Ramirez, ex officio.
Ron Garza, Board Member.
Trevor Lee, secretary.
Arturo Guajardo, President. Second item on the agenda is public comments. Do we have anybody registered for public comments?
I think I registered for that.
Three.
And I know most of you gentlemen, and the reason I'm here is that in December of 2015, we applied for it, and I think we were granted some assistance for infrastructure. And it's been 2 years, and I'm having to pay $40,000 of taxes this year. But I'm just trying to get an update on, you know, because I have not heard anything back since then. But I think it was approved at $65,000, and we put a $2 million project here. So.
Very good.
And I'm trying to get an update.
It is on public comments, so we can't respond or interact about it, but your point is taken.
Thank you.
Anybody else registered for public comments? No, then we'll move on to item number 3, our director's report.
Mr. President, board members, good evening, commissioners, ex officials. My only report that I have on the director's report is pretty much the budget that was approved last night. And it's pretty much the what was approved here, with the exception of the vehicle, which is a $20,000 vehicle. It was taken back, and with understanding that it was going to be on a promotional incentives for business development. So if you look at the budget, I can go through it again, item by item, as to what was changed.
Well, we do recall what we did, right?
Right.
Yes, sir. I'd like for him to elaborate on it.
Mr. President, are you referring to, you're going to review what was changed by us or what was recommended by the commission?
Recommended by the commission, which is a $20,000.
That's the only thing that was changed?
That's the only
Or
thing.
modification of after we had changed?
Right.
Okay.
Well, that was the only couple items, and I'm just gonna make a reference to a couple of items that got affected because of that.
Okay.
One of them was, as a vehicle that was proposed to be purchased, we also included a general liability insurance. That no longer being the case, I had to take that off, so it was an additional $2,500 that was added over to your,
What page are you
on page number 2. Right. Notice that general liability insurance is no longer there at the very bottom, under the advertising. That's what it was before. We left the $500 motor vehicle fuel, only because we didn't have an item on that. Because we were hoping that if the vehicle was going to be approved, that there was not going to be a car allowance, needed. But because the vehicle is no longer there, then we left it as motor vehicle fuel for allowance, and we left it at 500.
Okay.
So, Mr. President, if I may ask again, what was the change?
I took off the $2,500.
Not just that, but in reference to the vehicle,
Oh, the fuel.
the fuel.
I left it as for a car allowance. I didn't take that off. Notice that it was not
But
taken
the
off.
actual vehicle still on there?
No, it was taken off.
Okay, that's what I was referring to. So it's taken off?
It's taken off.
Okay. The actual line item, the vehicle.
Right. So if you go to page number 3, it was under capital outlay, category number 50. That's where the vehicle was previously. So that one has to be taken off. At the last meeting, one of the things that the attorney did mention was that any type of promotional assistance, we had up to 10% of your total revenues.
Right.
So we had $85,000 initially for the on the very bottom it says promotional expense.
Right.
Because it was an 85, and I needed to add those 20,000 here and there. The most that I could do was 1,000, so I left it at 86,000, making it 10% of the total revenues for that particular budget. And so instead of 85, I increased it to 86.
To 86,000.
Right.
Because we're still anticipating, we were guesstimating on the revenue anyway, so it could be right on with the 10%.
Now, right underneath at 2,700, well, I added the 2,500 for the insurance. I added into that other special expenses. That's if you guys actually have like a get together or any type of a special expense.
And at the end, was there any more money left that you said would perhaps go to incentives, retail
Yes.
incentives?
And those were at the very back. Page number back, which is on page number 5.
Right.
Remember that we had it at, initially was at 40,000,
You went up to 60?
we went up to 60 because the condition was, one of the commissioners, when they moved on it, was that it was used for incentives, on business incentives. So we based it on
Retail incentives?
yes, sir. So instead of having it 40, we increased all the way to 60.
And we had increased from 30 to 40, right?
That is
Yes.
correct.
So now it's 60.
Right.
Very good.
And I did go back and clarify the reason why this particular line item, the one right before the last one was empty, is because the system is already closed. So when we're doing the updates, it's only on the proposed, but that's the system, it has nothing to do with the numbers.
That's why it was blank
That
there.
is correct.
Okay.
Other than that, I don't know if you have any questions on that?
The only other concern that we discussed was the software that is being used for this belongs to the city, right? So
Right.
we're gonna continue to use it through your finance department and not through here.
Right, and what we can do is, we can make an arrangement so that IT can come over and do what's called a VPN to our system for viewing purposes only.
Good.
Okay? To
I
read
I
only.
think that would be a good idea, especially when we proceed to hire a new
Sure,
director
no
down the
problem.
road.
And that can be done fairly easy.
Okay. Very good.
One more question, Mr. President.
Yes, sir.
If I recall correctly, the whole purpose behind the vehicle was, to eliminate paying mileage for these ladies, or Ms. Patterson at the moment, she's the one who's delivering the packages. Was there any other reason why, there was a recommendation for a vehicle? You guys remember?
Yes, the other recommendation was to incorporate the members that attend training facilities. Instead of individual payments for most, you can, the hotel, obviously, but the mileage and the per diem, there was some savings there, and also there was some savings on the new director possibly using the vehicle at night. There would also, that money would be paid for the vehicle. But I respect the wishes of the commission, they have voted, and it's,
The reason why I brought
we were
that up,
trying to save money, in other words, because that car probably wouldn't get 5,000 miles a year, used, so it could last 10 years.
Mr. President, the reason why I brought that up is, was it shared with the commission, or, I don't know, Mayor Pro Tem, was that shared? Okay, was there any recommendation?
I guess the opinion was that it was not needed because of the amount of travel that staff was actually making. Now, and that was one of my questions. You said fuel is still on here?
Yes.
Where did you,
It's,
Second page, at the very bottom.
at the very bottom? Okay, yeah.
and we left it on for the, because we didn't have a line item for the car loans.
So, reimbursement.
Yes.
And again, Mr. President, and Mayor Pro Tem, so, the commission's recommendation, I don't wanna put words in anybody's mouth here, was, to utilize the 500 for any kind of traveling, or any kind of paid mileage, or?
Right, well, the reason being that with Ms. Patterson, the auto allowance that was listed, apparently they were tapping that account to get their travel expenses reimbursed. So instead of getting it from this allowance, which should be for the director himself, that, other account or that other category was inserted, that he equal fuel so that they can get reimbursed from that account.
And this was shared to you by Ms. Patterson, or you explained it to me?
As far as,
Because this is the first time I hear that the auto allowance was being used, instead of the director using it or receiving it, was being used to pay mileage.
you know, what was discussed at the meeting was that the question was, how are people getting or the staff getting the mileage reimbursement? And because there was no line item.
Okay.
And the answer was that it was at the car allowance. So what we answered was that, you know what, that car allowance is not for the staff, that car allowance is for the director's monthly allowance. And then we're still tapping in from there, okay? Now, when we created the car, that vehicle, I had to put in for fuel. And that's why I left it there, because now, the conversation was that, because that car allowance is for the director, then we have a line item for the staff.
And that's, the reason why I'm asking Mr. Horn is because that's what I'm a little confused with. Last year, Mr. Cuellar received his full yearly payment plus car allowance. So am I to understand that last year he had, that item had 3,000 plus whatever mileage these ladies put in?
Well, I mean, you can remember this, the way that budget was
Set up?
set up, it was that, it didn't matter where we were getting the money from.
So it
At the end,
didn't
it was just
necessarily
what
have,
it did, right?
okay, that's my point.
Right.
It didn't necessarily was not coming out of car allowance. And I think I can say that because I can show you what you've seen, how the layout of the budget was. And I'm only asking these questions because I don't wanna contradict, your guys' recommendations. And I'm glad that you guys explained the purpose of the vehicle, at least, why we were asking for the vehicle. So at this point, to clarify, any kind of mileage submitted plus travel, mileage by staff, and any kind of travel submitted,
That's a separate account, right?
it's going to be 500.
No, that's only for mileage reimbursement.
Mileage reimbursement for staff.
Travel is a different line item.
Yeah, that's a different item.
Okay, so that's not gonna be here. This is just
Right.
for
That's just
for staff
For the lady,
and not the director.
no. Because
And-
the director has a
and-
car allowance.
Correct. And any of the mileage submitted by traveling by board members or whether it's a flight?
Right.
That's-
Okay, that's
Travel
the
is regular travel.
That's the $9,000 travel allowance that's allocated.
Thank you.
Anything else on your report?
No, that's pretty much it,
Okay, for the record, I did speak to our legal counsel, he's on his way, he said he got stuck in Hidalgo, but he's on his way. So if we need him for some of these items, we will just wait until he shows up. We'll go on to the next item, is our financial report. What do you think of the report on that?
No, the financial report that we have on the first one is the, well, I guess the first one is gonna be the financial report, yes, I'm sorry. As you can see, you have your revenues for the current month, which is $81,912. Let me ask you, is that more or less from last month? Did you get last month, too?
I got both of them. I got them November and December.
Where's that number?
So I just put them on. That's
Okay, and the only reason I was asking that is so we could get a comparison between last month and this month. Usually, so this month it starts to go a little bit higher.
Okay. That also gives a good gauge to what we're anticipating for the upcoming year.
Right. And if we're at 81,000 or 82,000, we're looking at, when you multiply it times 12, I think
That's 2 months worth, right here?
No, this one, and then in December you have the November for December.
Okay.
That's all for the.
we're pretty much on target.
And then this is one for December.
Okay, I got you.
At the next, monthly expenditure report, what we'll do is we'll run the one that is run by the software, and it'll be something like this here, and then you have a percentage on the side. What percentage you actually expending, and what percentage is actually there. Okay.
Good. That'll always keep us on tap, up
Yes.
to date.
Whether you're spending more than what we're supposed to, and if there's a need for mid-year appropriations, or whatever the case may be.
And that VPN access that you mentioned earlier will also give us that ability to see up to date.
Right, that is correct.
Mr. President, I recommend on this monthly report, like 2090, you might as well delete mileage if it's only car allowance.
I don't know some language is. Those are the, this year the expenses, this is the way that she currently has them. And once we, this is adopted, I guess today, then those expenses, lines are gonna change to reflect the budget.
Any other comments or questions about our financial report? No? Then we'll move on to our action items. First item on the agenda is discussion, consideration, possible action, if any, on authorizing the interim executive director to get price quotes on a vehicle. I guess that's no vote.
I'll make a motion to, we take no action.
Second.
Got a motion and a second, no action. All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. Next item is discussion, consideration, and possible action, if any, approving payment for an invoice submitted by AC Engineering LLC.
Yes, Mr. President, and for the board, before you have the detailed invoice of the services that were done by AEC Engineering. And the first invoice that we received was just the first line item was this construction staking water line street and lift station. So we asked the engineer if he could give us a description, a detailed description as to what actually what transpired on that work. So to get it like that, it's all perfect detail, and we're asking for approval of $7,000.
Yes, and thank you for that, by the way. I had seen the prior bill that was just very vague, and I'd rather, know what we're signing off on, so this is a good habit to get into here. Members, any questions, concerns? If not, can I extend a motion to approve paying that bill?
I do have some questions, and it's gotten a little complicated because we have to see some different faces. There was a time where I know for a fact we paid $25,000 because there was a rush to purchase an easement north of the bank. You recall that? Okay. Did that work already happen?
Yes.
And that's,
The easement,
well, the lines or?
all that, the easement is recorded. I mean, we couldn't start this project. Carlos Garza, I'm sorry.
Yes, could you identify yourself?
Carlos Garza, president of AEC Engineering, and, some new faces, so, yes, I would like, if any of you, at any point, I'll give you my business cards. If any of you have any questions, being some of you are new to the board, please let me know, and I'll be more than happy to address those. So before, when we were doing the environmental clearance on this project, before we could move forward and get the EDA approval on the funding, all the easements had to be secured.
Mr. Garza, could you identify the project for the record as well?
Oh, yes, this is for what we're calling the San Juan EDC Infrastructure Improvement Projects. A lot of people refer to it as the improvements associated with the Lexus, but in the eyes of the federal government, this is not for the benefit of Lexus, it's for the benefit of the city. And so we're providing infrastructure not only to the Lexus, but to other vacant property within the city of San Juan.
And that vacant property, since I just want to clarify there, the layout perimeter of the whole land, correct me if I'm wrong, expressway in between veterans?
I'm pointing over here, you got, David, do we have a laser pointer that can be used on this TV? No? It won't work, right? Because that's the problem with technology. I have to come up with a laser pointer that work on these things, and then we're retired. But, Mr. Contreras, so to answer your question, so here we have the ditch. So if you come south of here, you'll see Oblate Street exists south of the expressway. So this is in perfect alignment with Lexus property. On the east side of the Lexus, when they did their subdivision, they dedicated the right-of-way. I don't remember if it was 70 or 80 feet, but they dedicated the right-of-way as part of their plat in here. So when we started the project, that right-of-way had already been secured. So we didn't have to worry about right-of-way. In the area we're talking on this particular project, so for all if you can see, and I'll move around and do it on my left hand, but it starts here at Oblake, continues north, follows along the north side of the Lexus property. Right here goes north to here, comes west, goes north, includes this, I'm too short, includes this plaza, and then continues south, and then all the way back to closing that loop.
Mr. Garza, I want to start with that because when I first sat here and I heard this project, that was not the layout. The layout that was introduced by us, and not by you, Mr. Garza, by Mr. Cruz Hogan and previous director, the layout was introduced to us by North Veterans, east on 485, south on Irrigation Ditch, all the way to Expressway,
All the way over there, okay.
all the way to Expressway, and then come back west to Veterans. So the whole block.
So we're talking that 160, 200 acres.
My understanding, Cruz, whatever he did for the EDC as part of the city, on behalf of the city, was on that. And the reason why I know for a fact that that was explained to us is because that lift station that is already installed, that they introduced the purpose of that lift station to us because that neighborhood that's right north of the Lexus project was in need of that lift station infrastructure improvements. That was the explanation that was given to us over a year ago, I guess.
And
Oh,
before
you
that-
were here.
Yes,
That's right.
I was here.
Yeah, you were here.
And I agree 100% with member Contreras. I also have a difference of opinion on the layout of it. And I agree with Mr. Contreras on this issue.
I wonder how and when did that change?
Mr. Contreras, all I can say is that since I've been involved with the project, that boundary that I presented to you is the boundary that was presented to me from day one.
By whom?
By, well, originally was with Mr., well, it was before Mr. Cuellar.
It was me. And that was the,
It was you as the acting director at that time, and that was presented to me. All this came into, the whole rush about getting the environmental clearance on this is that there had been a commitment by the EDA for the funds, but the environmental clearance on this project area had not occurred. And EDA said, if you don't give me the environmental clearance on the site, you're losing the money. So they called me. At the time, I was one of the engineers on rotation. It was one of, when, I was in one of the engineers on rotation on the
City side.
on the city side, and environmental being one of my specialties. They engaged me and said, hey, get on this now. And that was the boundary that was presented to me. So I never questioned it because I didn't know any different on that. So when we went through the entire, approval of the environmental and checking with the Corps of Engineers and U.S. Fish and Wildlife, Texas Parks and Wildlife, and all the other agencies that we have to contact on this, that was the boundary. That boundary had, for my scope of work, has never changed. I've never seen any exhibits that included anything else on here.
And your environmental study that you conducted left out.
All the neighborhood, it didn't include anything residential, anything of this neighborhood area that you're referring to, and it didn't include this. So it didn't include that warehouse, and it didn't include anything here north. Okay, we didn't include this area here because my understanding was that that was not in the area either. Because some people say, well, that was open area. Why? Because the idea is that area can be serviced through 495. That's the only question I asked about why we're not adding that other vacant land, because everything else looked developed to me. So I was like, okay, and that has sewer to it.
Which area?
All these houses and everything, they all have sewer. So, and that house up there has sewer too. So the only land that I saw that was vacant tract, I asked about this land and said no, because that land can be serviced going north whenever the owners, which my understanding is that the owners that own that house own all this land here.
Let me just make sure I understand. When you asked Arjona, what about that property, or who did you ask about that vacant property?
Just in the process of the discussions of it, I can't remember, specifically.
And I don't mean to be picky about this, but I'm just trying to add up how is it that we get misinformed? Because I'm not the only one. Commissioner Lee is here. I don't know about other board members or commissioners that were here previously, but I'm telling you, and the reason why that's so important, at least right now for me, is because I was hoping we were going to open Oblate all the way north to 195.
First of all, the right-of-way doesn't exist. So if Oblate was to continue north from here, you would have to go and purchase right-of-way from somebody. I don't know the gentleman's or lady or whoever the property owner is on that property. As most developments occur in the city, as you know, when a developer comes in and right-of-way is required by the MPO map and everything else in the city's thoroughfare plan, they dedicate that right-of-way as part of the subdividing because the developer's coming and doing it. But when the city wants to do it themselves, you have to purchase that easement or right-of-way, hence what happened to us with the easement on the bank property.
And that was the follow-up question in reference to that. We were asked to rush and to purchase that easement because I guess it was.
Well, again, it's the whole. We were in a catch-22 that if you didn't secure all the easements associated for it, you were going to lose the funding. So we had to secure the easements You already had the right of way for the street, but and within the right of way on that side, there's also a utility easement. So going north and south of here, we already had the utility easements, and we already had the utility easements here. Okay, and this is current utility easement that's been existing. It looks like an alley. Most people think it's an alley, but it's actually a utility easement in there. So all that other area, the only part that was missing as far as utilities were concerned for utility easement was along the frontage from the southwest corner of the Lexus to the intersection of I Road and 495. I mean, and the expressway.
But we didn't have to pay $25,000 to TxDOT to get that easement.
It wasn't to TxDOT. Texas National Bank charged you for that.
Along the frontage or north of
Along the frontage of their property. In all this, okay, we started conversations, and I discussed it with the president of Texas National Bank about saying, hey, we're going to be doing this. It's going to benefit you because we're running a water line. We need an easement. They told me all along was, yes, we'll give it to you. Yes, we'll give it to you. When you got down to the line, I sent the documents and I said, hey, we send you the documents. Where's the signature? Come back. The word that we got, and I remember they came directly to Mr. Arjona or who they came to and said, well, we got a issue. Our board met and our board wants compensation for the easement.
And this easement that we're referring to?
It's a 15-foot utility easement parallel to the right-of-way of the frontage of the expressway.
And you know, when that was presented to us, I remember referring to that we're going to lose it if it had happened because it needed to happen within like a few days or less than a week.
And unfortunately, it did. It truly did. If we didn't secure the easements, you were going to lose the $700,000 plus on the.
But it wouldn't have taken us that long to secure the easement from TxDOT. That was my whole point back to WEA. We could have just used it. That's besides the point. But in addition to what I'm saying here is that easement that all this time we're talking.
Let me stop you right there for a second. Believe it or not, as funny as it is federal funds. The right of way of TxDOT was not included in the environmental clearance. We shot it to the EDA. I tried, believe me, when we looked at all these aspects, we looked at what can we do to save you that money, and we went to the EDA, and it's like, the right-of-way of TxDOT is not included on this project, and therefore, if you're gonna come and try to install it inside TxDOT right-of-way, you need to get clearance on the right-of-way.
We didn't go that route, right?
Correct.
Okay, now, when that was discussed, when the issue came up on the money, $25,000, all this time, the easement, not this house having a map, because I understood that actual land was north of the bank, not south. Was right south of that home, south of those 20 acres, in between the 20 acres and north of the bank property. I was.
You're talking right here.
Exactly.
Okay.
That's exactly what I was.
Here's the thing: you are getting an easement there.
Yeah, that's another easement.
You're getting an easement there, but you're getting it now. Now, today, the bank has presented, I'm not representing the bank, the bank has presented a preliminary, I guess it's having that party place next door. Sorry, made me lose my train of thought a little bit. So the bank has now presented a plat, which Meldon and Hunt is the firm working on that project, and I've been discussing it with Mario Reina from Meldon and Hunt, the engineer on that project. And so they are granting an easement in here for installation of a sewer line.
Later they're going to charge us.
Are they charging?
Well, no. Now they're building it. Now they're having to build it. Now, because of their developing, they're going to build that sewer line at their cost. Okay, and we've looked at a couple of different scenarios, which we will discuss here in a little bit about what we can do because of what has transpired on this. I know y'all have an item on the agenda that we kind of went on a tangent here. I know you're trying to approve some invoices, but in a second after you get done with approving those invoices, we will continue in discussions of what has transpired, where we're at today with the project, and some additional funds that are available due to the difference between the original bid amount, a couple of small change orders that we've had in the project, and versus the amount of money that we have. So that gap, that difference is still available for us to utilize. And we're trying.
That's not on this item, right?
No, that's what I'm saying is, that's what I'm saying, we kind of went on a big tangent.
Yeah, we need to.
And that's why I know you want to move on get on back on track, so whenever you're back to discussion of the status of the project, I can give you an update on that matter.
Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you, Mr. Garza. So do I have a motion to approve that invoice?
Motion to approve.
Got a motion, but a second? Second. Got a motion and a second to approve the invoice to AC Engineering LLC in the amount of $7,000, what was it?
Yes, sir.
The amount of $7,000, all in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. Next item is a discussion, consideration, possible action, if any, approving payment for an invoice submitted by Castle Enterprises LLC. Change order number 5 attached.
For the record, just Castle Enterprises is a contractor working on the project for the new board members, just to.
Thank you.
I don't want you to look at the invoice and, okay, what are we paying the big amount for?
This is the 74,000?
As for the invoice, quantities have been verified, field inspections have occurred of the area of construction, and we have verified the amounts.
Do we have anybody here from Castle Enterprises? Would you like to address the board, or any questions for the representative from Castle?
Mr. President, what about, our utilities, Mr. Salinas? Yes. Do you have any questions in reference to?
No, actually, I reviewed that, and that work has already been completed on site, and I know you asked about the work in the easement, that's already been completed on site as well. In fact, they pressure tested the line today, so we should be opening up that line to pressurize the whole system tomorrow as soon as we get the test back.
I think it was last week I saw a backhoe after pulling water out.
That was when they were doing the connection to the 12-inch line that runs along High Road. They physically connected the line already, that's sweeping the entire system. Today, they pressurized it, I understand from my staff, it passed, and they're supposed to collect back keys today to get into the lab tomorrow so we can get the results, and once that passes, then that line is ready to use for the entire project.
There's a secondary benefit that happened with all this, and David, on the project, so to create a water loop, or what we refer to as a water loop on this, we did the connection up here. There's a 12-inch line here, so we came along the frontage, and then here we made a turn and come north, and that water is being connected through the Lexus. They're doing a connection into this line that comes and connects us into this neighborhood, and so that creates a loop for not only. So there is some benefits into this whole project. It's not sewer, but they're getting some benefit associated with water because we're creating a loop of another secondary means of providing water. So if there's a water line break on 495, you can close up valves on 495. It will be a reduced pressure because you're not having a full flow, but it's coming south and coming into the neighborhood. Pretty much an explanation. I don't know your full distribution system, David, but that's in a nutshell of what it goes. Now, there's a 16-inch water line that runs north to south, adjacent to here. But that is a transfer line, okay? That is not a distribution line. That's why we did this line, okay? Some people might say, well, why, there's already a line here, why couldn't we use that line? It's because that's a transfer line, okay? Transfer meaning it transfers it from the plants to a different location where the city needs it. It's only used intermittently when the city needs that line.
So that's not open to the public for public use?
No, for that, tap into that.
Yes, that's what I'm.
No.
No, but this will. Oh,
You can't tap
Is touch
into it.
screen?
We did do a temporary tap with the chance here. It's, I'm moving the.
sorry. Scare
But we did do a temporary tap to it. As you're all aware, Pueblo Fire is building, on the east side of town. To meet their fire flow requirements, they needed additional flow because that area was still unfinished. In fact, the other engineering company currently in the city is working on design to finish that loop on that side. So to provide them additional water, we're using a section of that transfer line right there to provide flow to them through that transfer line because it actually runs really close to their property right there at the Mercedes. So we tapped into that one and we're going to pressurize it with that 12-inch line to provide additional flow to the Pueblo tires until we can get the additional 16 inches coming in under Cesar Chavez to bring that 12 inch along the frontage all the way to where, Redama, the new Redama roadway will eventually be with the right of way down. So that's gonna pressurize that whole area, it'll give more pressure to that area until we can finish the construction of the additional.
It's a good booster, booster cables to that portion of the system on that. But, so yes, the water line, that's where the water line, and everything in it. So, and then to what Mr. Salinas said, the fire hydrants right now, they have water. The line is pressurized, so now there is fire protection along the frontage, which was not existent before, every 300 feet on this part.
Thank you, Mr. Garza. Any other questions for Castle Enterprises? Is there representatives here? The way I'm reading this is, this is just another installment, right? Your full bill was $576,000, and you're at 73% completion, so you're here asking for $74,000.
That's the drawdown.
That's the drawdown at this point. Any other questions? If not, I'll entertain a motion to approve. Motion to approve. Have a motion and a second. All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. Next item on the agenda is number 4, discussion, consideration, possible action, if any, on change order number 3, sanitary sewer extension.
And this is the item that, Carlos was explaining, and this is where he got, I don't know if you wanna continue.
And actually, it's a typographical, it's change order number 4, not number 3.
Okay.
For the record. So we've had 3 change orders on the project. So the original project was I'm gonna round up, $550. Okay, and then there was an original change order was $11,000, in which we took some items out of the scope, one item out of the scope of Castles, but we added that connection over here on the water line and everything else to it. So the net change of the reduction plus the addition was 11,000, give and take some change there. The next line, and part of it, of doing the geotechnical analysis of the soil and everything on the street, it was determined that that soil needed to be lime stabilized. So we added the lime, and that was change order number 2. You might see on some paperwork, depending on how it was worded to you, because originally, change order number 2, the first original change order number 2 was never approved. So it became a null and void. And so it was 3, 4, and 5. At the request of, I don't know if it came from your office, but they made the changes. Came back to clarify.
We asked the contractor to renumber everything, so number 2 wasn't gonna be approved, there was no reason to have it in there, to add more paperwork, so 5 we weren't gonna need, so number 2 was completely deleted.
But there was already a 3 and number 4, so they kinda got renumbered 2, 3, and 4. So that's why if you ever see one that the numbers don't match up, just look back on the numbers, okay? And then, so change order number 3 was originally, on change order number 1, a manhole that we took out. There was a manhole that goes right here on the lift station, associated with the lift station. It was originally always on my plans and on his scope of work. Spa Glass, which is the contractor for the Lexus, built that manhole. So we took it out of his scope, and we reduced the price. In part of the staking and everything else that you just paid my firm, we went and analyzed that manhole, came to a realization that Spa Glass, they didn't have it originally on their plans to build it, and they built it at the wrong elevation. Okay, so it was too shallow. When you're talking on gravity sewer systems, it's all about the flow, and so it was too shallow, which would affect the distribution of the system in going and trying to connect everything that we're trying to, and which we're going to discuss more here in a little bit on discussions. So we had to add it back to his scope, and so that's where that change order came in. Okay, so first we took it out, now we put it back. And then what you have right now was listed, it was distributed out as change order number 4, but change order number 4 is one that we're still evaluating the options of what to do in accommodating for that extra money. So right now, the contract amount is at $576,244.56. Okay, that is the contract amount to date. And so we're coming and saying, okay, there's the difference between that amount and 124,000. I spoke with Frank San Martin from Hollis Rutledge's office, and they were supposed to be here because they have the exact amounts. But it's something like $124,000 that is left over from the grant money. If you don't use it, you lose it. So we're trying to figure out what can we do to utilize that money for the betterment of everything. One of the two,
$124,000.
so like 124,000. I mean, don't call me an exact amount.
Exact amount?
Yeah, Hollis has the exact amount. Frank told me that Hollis was going to be here, but unfortunately he's not. So we get that exact amount. The grant by EDA is written in such a way that the maximum you can allow of change order is 25% of the bid amount. So 25%, do that, Jerry, for me? Just 25% of 550, 548, 958, 51, 25% of that would be the maximum that we are allowed. $137,500 is the maximum that we're allowed to have on change order.
And where are we at today?
Okay. So if you look at that plus the original bid amount of 548, 958, 51, when you add those two together,
686.
we can't go past 686 on the contract.
If you take the 3 change orders that have already been done, and you add the number 4 change order, the 104,386.4, we end up at 131,675.53.
131,000?
Yes,
Well,
so,
that's already over what you just mentioned, isn't it?
no, 137,000.
137. So we're like within, so we're pushing it.
We're within a couple of
However,
thousands of dollars.
However, I guess EDA has a stipulation that it's 25 plus maybe a little bit more. So, because Frank from Hollis's office told me, he said he can probably push to get up to $140,000 on change order.
Do we anticipate any more?
No, I'm saying on funding of money. Here's the thing about that grant.
Orders.
Not on change orders. The beauty about this grant is that the moment.
There's an item, if I may, I'm sorry, David, for the record. There's an item on your agenda, and we're gonna discuss change order number 4 right now for the 104,000. I think that's the next one.
Actually, that's what we're on right now.
Well, that's why the aerial there. One of the things that when we were presented with that line item, I had with that budget, I had some concerns because of that right of way. If you go to the original alignment, if you want to show it there on the map.
Let me take one step back on that one, David, real quick. So in part of looking at that money and what can we utilize the money, we started looking, and we know that one area of trouble for the city is that plaza and that corner gives Mr. Salinas' staff a lot of headaches. Okay? And so looking at what can we do to expand the sewer services, okay? We said, what if we go and build out those sewer service as this lift station was originally intended to service that 100% area. And so the idea was, well, what if we come in and build that sewer line and come and service that as well, and we alleviate that problem from the city. So when Mr. Cuellar was here, I think it was in the last weeks or so that he was here, he approached the family that owns this, and they refused to grant an easement for running. Because when we did the original plan, the land use plan of the city calls for about 300, I don't remember if it's 300 or 350 feet of frontage of commercial along here. And then, of course, the frontage. So when we prepared the alignment in the grades of the design of the lift station, was thinking, okay, if we go with that alignment of 350, we can come in the back of this building, come in through here, run a sewer line, and then they can come in and run it to here. But that easement became a non-option item. So we started looking at, okay, if we can't go that route, which way do we go? So we went and said, okay, what if we go all the way to I Road? And then we go north this way along the right-of-way of TxDOT. I mean, I keep on saying TxDOT, it's the city of FAR, along the right-of-way here, and then come back. One of the problems there is that we're that distance of the plaza, we're taking the sewer for a trip. We're going first west, north, and east. So here we got to go coming opposite the other direction of how the building flows out. We would take it west, come here, and then go east. So it's a little bit of extra length, and that's why it was important to change the grades on that manhole, because it was playing against us with the gravity flow system.
Did I just understood you say that there was a requirement of a certain amount of feet going east off of Veterans for commercial and having the line behind it?
Right here, the land use plan of the city,
Correct.
which Mr. Cervantes has that at his office, calls for about 350 feet here of Veterans to be commercial, and the rest to be residential. So when we did the design of the lift station, we took those land. TCEQ has calculations or projections of potential volumes.
That's what you base your idea behind
Yes,
having
sir.
the line there.
Yes, sir.
So it
It had nothing to do with anyone else telling us, okay, put the alignment there. The idea was that's what the land use plan of the city calls for. So what better way than to put it in the back of the commercial? So then they have, ideas. They have a utility easement. They have a sewer line in the back of commercial buildings, and
so by putting it in front, we're going against what the city has planned for.
well, no.
That's what you just.
Well, but because these people are refusing to give us an easement.
Yeah, so that includes all of the land?
Yes, all the way to here. So since they didn't give us an easement, we have the money. So again, Rick, keep in mind, if you don't use the money, you're going to lose it. Okay? I'm going to say it's not your money, it's the EDA's money. Okay? But it is your money because the EDA gave it to you, but they're telling you if you don't spend it, you're not going to get it.
Yeah, but the EDA doesn't tell you how to spend it exactly this way.
No. So that's why we're trying to look at the possible route. So we've come up with
So that's the only option at this
two.
point?
No, we're looking at it's one. Let me look at it's 1, 2, 3 different routings, and I want to talk to you about all 3 of them briefly. So one of them is the lift station is here in the corner. So one of them is going west this way, which right now if we build it, the people that get the benefit of that section of line is Texas National Bank. Okay? And I know that's a little sore item right there because they charge you $25,000.
Right.
Okay?
Well, we didn't have to go that route.
Well,
I still,
hold on.
that was not my opinion.
So I got some ideas about what we can do with that one, okay?
Let me break there and just say a couple of things. If we were to go that route, the bank is already entertaining the possibility of reimbursing the city. Maybe not, that's not the correct word, of reimbursing that 25,000, but paying us back 25,000. If we were to go that route.
The cost of that sewer line from here to there is about $52,000. So I made the sales pitch. I should sell cars too in the process. I made the sales pitch to their engineer. I was saying, hey, I got an idea where your client can save some money, but they got to give us money back. Okay? So my idea was, we put the sewer line, we build it, we pay for it. They give you your $25,000 back.
Now that is money to the city, not necessarily
Money to the EDC, not the city, to the EDC. Well,
yeah, but my point is, it's not credit that the EDC has the way it is right now. Right now, we have a credit of 130,000.
mhm.
We use it, great. If we don't, we might not have it. Possibly we're not. But that option means that our kitty starts growing at least with 25, or we get back what we.
Correct. So I'm trying to get your money back.
Yeah.
Okay, so I hope y'all keep that in mind. I'm fighting and trying to get your money back.
What's the first time I hear about it? That's
Okay,
what,
well, that's why I'm presenting it to you. Okay? And actually on Friday, I have a meeting back with the bank to discuss some other issues because there's some other
Just
developments.
don't
coming
come back after the project, say, oh, I'm sorry, the board met and they decided not to do the 25,000. Because that's what happened with.
No. I told the
This
president of the
one's not
bank,
happen like that.
the day before yesterday, I met with him at 10 in the morning, and I told him, I said, look, straight up, it will be idiotic of y'all not to take this offer.
And is that
Because-
sold? Or Art's not there anymore?
Joke it over.
Joe Kilo.
So, because I said, look, otherwise you're going to spend 50. Yes, we gave you 25, so at the end of the day, you spend 25. Okay? I said, but if we build it, we spend the 50. You give us 25 back. And so, we planted that seed into, at least in their head about the idea of that.
Try to get an email next time.
Okay.
And
And
that really adds value to their property too. I think.
it does. And when you know, I'm not in full liberty of disclosing of everyone. You probably have heard some speculation, some people, but I know of 3-4 entities that are coming in that corner, which are greatly going to increase revenues and value in the city. Okay, so that much I can tell you. I mean, if I tell you who it was, I'll probably get fired tomorrow, but.
You already know. It's all right. So go up and then what?
So from here, then we continue along the right of way, because on this particular one, on the exhibit, the line extended all the way to the back of curb.
To the back of where, sorry?
To the back of curb of I Road. So that
The other side of the park?
No, to here, to the east back of curb.
Oh,
of,
okay.
So it was included in the environment. I have to split hairs here and looking at ways where we can make this happen. And so going in here, all the way here to the plaza, and then the plaza all discharges and goes east. So we would come all the way to this corner here, where then the plaza would change the line and come south. Because on yours it didn't include, on that original quote, included all the way to the north. So it included the line going all the way to the north here.
That's option number 2.
That's option number 1.
Oh, it's still option number 1.
That's all option number 1. So we're going on the north side, go all the way, come back that way, and go all the way to the northeast corner of the plaza. That's option number 1.
And at the same time, you're saying that due to the flow that way, the lift station is further, there's possibilities of issues?
No, that works with the flows of the lift station and everything else. Okay? If in the future someone sells this land and someone else comes and develops it, that land could still come and connect to that sewer line.
Or they could always come and connect south.
Or they can build their own line and connect out of their own expense, and they come in here and connect to this line that's going east and west.
So you eliminate any possible.
So that still leaves it. It's not like, okay, we complete because they didn't give us an easement. You know, the options are there. We're not doing anything inside their property. That's option number 1. However, in the process of doing option number 1, we had to take some topographical information on the area for me to be able to determine whether it was actually, I mean, and again, we're talking gravity system.
Elevation.
And so, unfortunately, between the back of curb and the power poles, and are you able to go to street view on this?
No, but I got an aerial. There's a link, right?
Were you able to do it with a drone after all?
Where's the link at?
We're talking in a distance of 6 feet. There is a 12-inch water line, a 2-inch gas line, a telephone line, power pole, and textile inlets against the back of curb.
And in addition to that, you want to put another one?
And in the process of that, we want to put in a 10-inch sewer line. So even though we looked at the routing, the logistics, this man's going to have to dig it with a spoon.
Yeah, it's gonna be tough.
Okay?
So this is the aerial that we flew with the drone yesterday, and it kind of follows the alignment along our road. And one of the.
So this is going north. So this is the area that we're talking about right here.
And as you can see, I'm gonna stop right there, and I don't know if you can see some of the issues that we have right there.
Here and up there, there's some ash trees that are in the right of way, which is City of FAR right of way. The people that reside here are going to claim it's their trees, even though they're in right of way. But I'm talking.
Trees?
Well, that's what I was getting to. So they're ash trees that are pretty good sized ash trees. So given the complexity of the spacing plus some of the physical obstructions, okay, I think we would be setting up ourselves for some major headaches, because then if in the process of doing so we uncover a line, something else that's buried, that's not there, he's gonna hit you up for another change order because it's not there. I mean, we've marked them. We called dig test and we had everything that we could get marked, but that's everything that we know of what they marked for us. Okay, it wouldn't be the first time that they tell me, you know, and then there's a 4-inch gas line in the process in there. Okay, so this option, which is at $104,000, starts looking further and further away in the distance. So Mr. Castillo, Mr. Salinas, and myself went and walked the entire area and walked everything around here and looked at the options. In this particular case here, there's a fence on this behind the plaza. You pass it right there? So there's a fence. And the back of that, even though it's in bad condition, they have an alley that was paved. So we come and put the sewer line in there, we're gonna have to pave part of that alley. Okay? So it's just expensive. He did include it in his original quote of 104,000 and change. Okay, but again, the logistics of making it happen are getting pretty bleak on that aspect. So we came back and looked at option number 2.
Gonna fly over that.
So this is the west side. We're looking at north. So this comes to the intersection of that plaza and 495. That's right there's the little pump station that is the problem right there.
Oh, it was because it was for the house.
Okay. I don't know for what exactly capacity it was built or designed. Okay. But my understanding goes across 495 and goes there.
Actually, on this map, it shows the line, it doesn't show the pump station. But this is our current existing sewer, all the green lines are current existing sewer for the area. That pump station is right here. The original plan was to gravity it across the street. But when they did the elevations here, the elevations don't match with that. That line over there is too shallow, so they couldn't gravity it. So what they did, they put a small grinder pump station there at the expense of the plaza owner. They maintain it, we don't touch it. And they pump it across and the gravity flows back to the system, goes back all the way to the lift station that's over behind the stripes at the corner of Longoria.
If all of you can see on this map, I can point on this one much faster, then we can look at that and then he can do the flyover real quick. So option number 2 is going from the plaza, going east, but it would involve trying to get, same thing. We looked at the right of way of 495. And same thing, we have, there it's an 8-inch or 12-inch water line also.
It's a 12.
We have a 12-inch water line in there, power poles.
That's a 16 inches.
Okay. Add to insult,
Yes.
16-inch water line, power poles, gas line in the right of way. But you have, if you do the flyover, so it's up in this area. Now this people have a storm inlets there that are connected to the TxDOT, and then they have the scale there. But one possible thought here was if we can secure an easement behind the power poles from these people, we can run a sewer line in there. Okay? Now, if in the future they ever tear down this building, that land can have more sewer capabilities available to it. Okay? But we continue north, that little protrusion of the building, you can see it. The power poles are the right-of-way line. Are in the right-of-way line. Pause it right there, David. So just a little bit further back, that building comes out and he has a manhole, which is right about where my finger's at here. It's a manhole. They come, and then they come across 495. But that's only for the bathrooms that they have in there and all that.
Actually, that's that 8-inch over here on the map. On the map, you see it?
Right here?
Yeah. See how it comes
Right here.
There you go.
Okay, so that's that manhole that we're talking about right here. Okay? And then that manhole continues east to another manhole that's right here in the back of the alley of the houses.
Easement.
Which is the easement, I should say, which is right here. But crossing this, there's a concrete irrigation line, a PVC irrigation line, an existing gravity sewer line, and in there we're putting a force main. Because then the idea was, okay, then we would turn and run the sewer and run it in here. The problem is that the sewer from all these houses is flowing in the opposite direction. So literally, we would have to rip out the sewer that is there, older infrastructure as you mentioned, and reconnect all those houses, but change the direction of the sewer. Now that sewer will flow from 495 south to the lift station. The problem that arises is that then I've eliminated the manhole, which is the receiving manhole for the lift station. And if all this is too fast, too much for y'all, please let me know. And so that manhole is this one right here, which is where the force main. So the force main is the pressurized line that comes off of the pumps.
Where are you at over here?
Right here. Right here. So the lift station, everything gravity comes to the lift station. Then the lift station, hence the name, lift. It lifts the sewer to a higher elevation, and we push it and pump it to a higher elevation, so then the gravity system starts all over again. And so we're dumping it into here. This manhole right there. That force main is already there. So we would need to reconnect all these houses and flow, instead of the sewer flowing that way, it would all come this way. So this houses, at least here for your comment about the houses, will get a benefit of having new sewer available to those houses.
But that's what was presented to us
Okay.
over a year ago, but that's why this was done that way.
Again,
So option 2 from A to Z.
yes, it's from here this way, coming down this way.
It's not that long of a route.
No, however,
But you have to buy right away from Palmer.
well, but my force main comes to here. Now my pumps have to pump the sewer from here further all the way to here. Okay? So I still haven't had the time. I mean, all this it's happening in the last less than 48 hours that we've been discussing of all these options. And so if I still need to run the calculations to determine if that additional pressure, in my engineering world we call it head on that pump, if it affects the performance on that pump. Because if it does, then we gotta put bigger pumps. And if we do bigger pumps, we're gonna go over our money. Okay? So that's option number 2. Option number 3 is we still do all this, but the force main, instead of sending it from here all the way to here, we come this way. In this case, it's an alley or a utility easement.
They're all easements.
Okay, so it's in another easement in the back of these houses, and we come and connect it to this one here. Saves us about 300 to 400 feet of force main, which helps us with the pumps, which might get away with utilizing the same pumps. The problem is that won't be today. When all this happens, right now we're only going to have this and the Lexus, and within a year we'll have the Texas National Bank property. That won't be a big a deal, even if we add all these houses. Not a problem at all. The problem is when all this,
Yeah, right there.
you put a apartment complex on a property like this and add 600 apartments, it's going to become an issue.
Well, you
You know.
As a city, I think you need to put some type of, on them for not cooperating today, that in the future they do something, it's gonna be on their dime.
Yes, and it is.
Right.
You know, so that's option number 3 in this whole process. Now, Mr. Castillo still has not had the time to fully prepare numbers on what this would entail, but more or less we're looking at about 115,000.
About 115, 120, will be about 14.
Which puts us right on the line also with the budget numbers. And that's why I wanted Hollis's office to be, those guys to be here, because they're the number keepers on that. But we can look at it. So right now, we need just a little bit of a guidance from you of, do you trust our best judgment on coming up with the best solution on the engineering aspects and what we can do, and without running the risk of running additional change orders by running on the frontage and having to dig in there? Option number 2, it would need to use some persuasion from the city and commissioners to secure an easement from the folks that own that warehouse. If they don't, I don't.
Let me ask this, I don't know if it's a question for you or Mr. Garza, but we're talking about 120, 130,000, right?
124.
124. Must it be spent on sewer infrastructure improvement, or can it be spent on anything other than that?
Within this area, it can be anything else in this area.
What other options? Are there any other options?
We already got the water covered. There's water all over the place, so I can't add more water to it.
Any other options?
No, that's about pretty much the only other option that we can think of.
Now, if we spend the money, we can't come, let's say the bank's coming in and the bank's doing their subdivision and they're gonna run water lines and sewer lines and everything else in the bank, within the bank, because it is federal money. It's not like you can go spend it and ask them to reimburse you. If it was your money, it would be a different story. So saying, let's come and do the infrastructure here, we could. Okay, it's within limits and everything works great. I don't have to worry about any easements or, because they're going to be coming by the plat. But you won't recoup any of that money. So what we're trying here is utilize the money, because the bank, when they come and develop, they're going to spend their money on that property.
Let me ask you a question. If you were to go to option 3,
Mm-hmm.
there on the bottom corner, that's where the lift station is.
Right here in the lift station.
So the first line, where's that gonna be going out to?
Everything still comes in this would come this way and come down in here to dump it to the lift station.
That's gonna be using the same existing lines?
No, we're gonna rip out this existing line and put a brand new one, because right now it's going,
direction.
Right.
right now it's going north and we need it to come south.
So that means that the homes are gonna have to be disconnected like you mentioned, and then reconnected again.
But it's easily done because of the direction of flow. That's the beauty of this. Since the sewer is going that way, let's say I live in this house. He starts working here, goes all the way to the point that they discover and they install the new line. Of course, by that point, the lift station has to be pretty much running. And have the force main squeezed in there all the way to the force main, if we come this way, then we don't run the conflict of that sewer line in there. So as I get to the connection, the service connection on that line, I chop it, connect it to the new one. You never felt the difference. Your toilet's still flushed. We continue working. He moves to the next lot. He does the same thing. And we continue abandoning that section piece by piece.
As we go, we test.
As they say, wow, you need eat an elephant one bite at a time, right? I mean, so that's what we'll be doing. Yes,
I have a
sir.
question. How old are those lines? In your opinion?
Older than me, and I'm 42.
Yes, sir. That's what I thought.
That line, I have no idea.
I mean, and that's my
research to date on that subdivision, but they're precast manholes, correct? So I'm guessing that subdivision was probably done in the 80s. In the 80s.
I mean, I'm saying it's old.
Maybe
I mean,
even
it's-
older than that.
No, I don't think they're that old, because I have property, I used to live on Star,
Okay.
and that was about 20 years back, and it was right after they had installed all those lines.
So 20? I mean, they might be pushing somewhere between 20 and 30 might be a safe bet.
Up into the 90s, they were installing precast manholes because they were cheaper at the time. They were cheaper than fiberglass because fiberglass, one of the new technologies that had come out. They weren't trusted very well, so up into the 90s, they were installing that. Is it clay?
No, it's
PVC.
PVC.
So the line of PVC.
When was
So
the last time that was revisited?
Honestly, that would be a great option. But if y'all have the connection and getting that family to give you the easement.
That was the,
I mean, has anybody revisited that option?
that one was visited with Mr. Way.
Mayor Pro Tem, not putting you on the spot, but can the city
No.
commission help us in securing an easement through there?
Is it not worth trying again?
Coach?
Probably the owners.
the worst thing they can say is no again.
I mean, if they see the light, the value that it's gonna add to their property. It's kind of a dumb.
So the thing about it is, I thought I would never see that as an engineer, and in the last 6 months I've seen it twice. People sometimes don't understand. I have a project in Edinburgh, the same situation. I'm trying to build a lift station, spend $200,000 putting a lift station, and put a sewer line through the front of someone's property, buried, and they're me that the horses are going to break their legs. They got 2 horses that are about 50 years old in there.
I have a question or a comment. My name is Gilbert Vasquez. I'm the EDC attorney, so I really don't count right now.
Okay.
But I was
Nice
going to
to meet you, Mr. Vasquez.
I was going to go ahead and point this towards Mr. Contreras. I was going to ask what Mr. Guajardo asked right now. Has anybody approached this family? And the reason I pointed to Mr. Contreras is because a lot of issues came up before the previous EDC director and his attitude with people and stuff like that. So I don't know if that was a factor. I don't know if that's something to think about.
I think it's worth revisiting.
I'm all, you call me, let me know when. From an engineer's perspective, she can bring, I say she because my understanding is she's the spokesperson for the family that owns the land. She can consult with another engineer. I mean, the fact that we're not trying to pass a fast one on anybody. I mean, that I'm with you. The value of that land as a developer, it's invaluable. I mean, it is phenomenal because you're opening land
to tap in anymore.
Correct.
They don't have to pay
Correct. Where most developments, you have a reimbursement contract, and they end up saying, "Fine, don't give it to me North Alamo Water Supply, for example, has that stipulation on their bylaws that if you refuse to give them an easement, they will never service your land unless you go back and when you develop it, you give them the easement and replace that line in that easement. And that's in North Alamos, but I don't know if the city has that power. And if even you had that power, it might take 20, 30 years to get that line back in there. So if you can, for me, this would be the best route.
And the cheapest.
Well, I'm speaking for the contractor here, but other than dig this, unless there's a gas line that runs east to west, he's got nothing to worry about. Okay? Neither do I. And coming east to west here, we got nothing to worry about either. But we just need somebody to approach with that.
What type of time span does the board have to do this?
Well, from the original contract, and I know he's got some bonding, he's mentioned to me about, and I'm speaking for Chris Castillo, I know he has some bonding tied up on this project and schedule. The original contract date is scheduled for February 2nd.
Yeah, in the last change order that
Now,
he provided, he's requesting an additional 37 days in extension.
For the new change order. On the current contract, that I have noted, every time it rains and everything I'm marking, there's about 8 weather days right now that he has not asked that, by all actions, he's allowed to request them because we've had weather delays on those days. So that would push it back to February 10th in regards to the original contract. In regards to getting the lift station up and running, the big thing is it doesn't do us any good to have the lift station fully built if we can't pump the sewer out of it. Okay? So all this is gravity system. So one of the things is right now the force main is all the way up to there already. So right now, if it takes us another 30 days to secure this, we can continue and build this. Lexus will dump it to the lift station. The lift station will discharge into here. We're golden. Then we can continue with, call it, second component, which will be building that line coming this way. We will still push, if we go with this route, we will still push the bank. Because again, if we don't come this route, I'm not going to be able to get your 25 grand back. Because the bank's going to say, I'm not going to give you the money, I'm having to spend that thing now. Because the bank, if we go this route, the bank will still have to build a line going from here, going east to the lift station. So they would tell us, hey, I'm still spending my $50,000, I'm not getting your $25,000 back.
Maybe this is not a good idea, but what about, you see, the idea of building for today is obviously not a good idea, right? You always build for tomorrow because of the future and growth, we're hoping for growth.
I know Mr. Guajardo will tell you that from the day when he took office in the county offices, if he designed offices for what staff he had then versus today, they'll be on top of each other. So yes, I completely understand that. But it's somebody that will embrace that idea and say, look, it's not for the taking.
Well, the reason why I'm bringing this up, because we all know that that's the route to go, is what if she's adamant no? I mean, we can't just hang our head on that one, right?
But I think it's worth revisiting.
Yeah, but
well, if it's an adamant no, then I think option number 3 is possibly the best viable solution.
Yeah. We have to go with whatever you recommend as the engineer. If you tell us that's going to be the only viable way.
I wanted you to understand I know we have a quote on the table of the 104 coming this way. Okay?
So option 3 doesn't get us the 25 back either.
No.
So we can know.
Okay?
And let me ask you, if we were to go with option 3, is there any way that we can extend the line over, even though it's going to be under the grant?
I'm sorry, Ben. Extending it over from where?
Yeah, from there all the way to the bank.
To the bank?
Yeah.
If we had money, yes, but because we're ripping out this line, it's kind of like the money that we would be spending here, we're going to spend it here.
Okay. And option 3, then it's just going from south to north off of
I mean, again, all this is trying to get the sewer and get this whole headaches of this corner out of the equation. I mean, if you were to say, you know what, forget about that corner, let the owners, but then legal has to have some serious.
He wants to know the route for option 3, give him the route to option 3.
Oh, I'm sorry, option 3, so we were talking about coming this way, coming south on Gravity to here, replacing the line that's here because that line is, you see the arrows pointing up. The force main will come across here, which there's already a utility easement. We will cross, I don't know if this is called Douglas also because it's kind of loop, but we'll cross right here in the easement and come to this right here, and that will be our discharging point on the force main.
And there's no possible way of going north of 495 to connect at the plaza?
It's too shallow, it's too shallow. Yeah, the elevations don't work, it's too shallow. We would basically have to build the entire line on the north side here. And there's a 10-inch water line there now.
And that involves buying right away here, right?
Well, it
Or an easement.
requires negotiating easement from.
Option number 2 requires an easement, you said it was Palmer?
Yeah, Palmer.
Palmer, so you.
We're hoping we can negotiate one by telling them he'll get, and he's more open to it than the other landowners, because he is a businessman, he's got a business there, that it'll add value to his property, that's something he won't have to do in the future if he ever decides to sell, that'll add value to his property.
Now, we haven't done full dig test spotting and everything. I know he has a scale for this weight scale and everything in that area. So we still have to, I don't know what process associated with the electrical and everything else in there. And we have a gravity system. And then the whole big problem here is that it's a gravity system. If it was a water line, I mean, we can go up and down and angles and everything with the water line, but it is the gravity sewer system.
What about going, I'm sorry.
No, wait.
But what about going south of the warehouse?
We looked at it yesterday, and actually we're talking about literally there's 2 feet. We found his property pin is right here in the utility easement, and he's 2 feet, not even 2 feet from this south wall of the building.
He practically took up every single piece of real estate that
Because
he has.
we contemplated that because it's a shorter run too.
At some point, we even thought he was encroaching into the other property, but we found his property pin, and he's not. He took it all.
How about FAR? Who connected FAR?
Well, but again, we go outside of the environmental coverage area of the project.
So then we can't do it.
So, that's what I tell my clients. Remember, I'm an engineer, not a magician, you know?
And even if we could build it on north, man, it's on the north side of the project. It's outside the environmental coverage area, so we couldn't do it anyway.
The only way we could go,
But we want to bring you some options. We do have 2 costs that have already been provided by the contractor, of course, like Mr. Garza said, that is the type right away on all of them. As combative, and I shouldn't use combative, as non-negotiating as the person who the owners of
It's
those
the mayor,
people
right?
are.
That's who it is. How about, I mean, let's get creative here. How about if we hire a person to negotiate for us, a friend of hers, you know? Yeah, Lobos or someone like that. Hey, well, you go get the deal done for us. I think it's worth looking at.
But you know,
I got an idea. No, but the problem,
Let's spit it out.
no, but I'm thinking of the logistics with the EDA.
Yeah.
If there was some monetary exchange for an easement, okay? Let the bank build this line so that $50,000 is on the bank. You pay, because if we build that line, we're paying $50,000 for it.
Let them build it.
So let them build it. Brings $50,000 down, and we offer another $25,000 for that easement in there.
No, we're gonna be out, man. Okay.
No, I'm saying because we're right now that
124,000.
it saves us at the end of the day. Still, by the bank building this and us paying $25,000 for this, we're still $25,000 less.
But what you're saying is getting the EDA to pay for that?
No, sir, the money the bank is gonna reimburse you? Is that what you're talking about? Oh, no, because the bank's.
No, the bank will build it. That's the problem. The bank will build it. So that's what I'm saying is how do you work that one? Because I know it's federal money. So we can't take a federal grant and give the money away. You would have to take it out of your coffers for covering that. But I mean, that's an idea if if that was to entice the deal to somebody, but I don't know what else to do.
Yeah, the other issue with that is that we're be depending on the bank to build that line. What if they decide to build it the next year?
They can't.
Then we don't have this guy.
Okay, well,
Well, I mean, your client, how soon is he proposing to move in? Because that's gonna be dependent on your client.
I have a client that I'm designing right here in this corner. I need sewer for that. Okay, which is next to the bank.
And the bank needs to put it in because they own the subdivision.
And the bank's putting it in because they're gonna sell to my client, and I'm designing what's going in there.
What's the timeline for the client?
Yesterday, I mean, like literally, we're on hold to find out what they're doing because, I mean, my understanding is
They supplied, Northern Hand supplied a revised set of drawings for that. All right, to meet the flow line. I'm sending them remarks back because they're proposing a 15-inch.
So they were supposed to be opening up bids, if it's not today, it will probably be tomorrow.
Yeah.
So they're just right around the corner.
Chris.
Well, what happens if you do the sewer line going across there, you get your 25 from the bank, and you offer that, so it's a $0 on you guys. You already paid it, but you get it back and use it for the easement.
There you go.
Isn't
That's
that
another one.
28 funds?
It's not.
No, that'd be-
The 25 that were given to the bank was from EDA budget. It didn't come from the grant.
Oh,
EDC budget.
It came from the EDC budget.
okay.
Okay, so that's an idea, you know. Get the bank involved to talk to them as being neighbors.
Maybe the bank.
I got a meeting on Friday with Joe Quiroga at the bank and his folks, so I can talk to them. Maybe they bank with them. I don't know.
And there's no other area to invest this money in.
I haven't
The reason why
figured out.
I bring this up is because I mean, sometimes it's about pride, boss. And it's not about money, it's not about.
Let me just.
Sometimes it's about pride. And I'm not talking about my pride. What
No,
I'm
no,
talking
I'm
about
sure.
is maybe somebody else has an issue just because who's gonna look good.
You know, but if this family gave that easement, they would be good neighbors to 3 entities, which at the end of the day, this one is gonna become 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 different entities as neighbors to the south, entity to the north, this entity here. I mean, if I was the owner of that property, as, you know, and I'm not speaking for them, it makes sense.
Sure, so we're talking about people who are smart. We're not talking about people who are not smart. We're not talking about people who have horses that are gonna jump on that line. And I don't know those people, I'm sorry.
No, I
But
understand.
all I'm saying is, I think what, your common sense is enough for these people to understand it. I don't see why they could not understand it. That's why I'm just making an opinion that it could be something other than common sense.
It could.
It's still worth a try, right?
I agree.
So it's worth a try whether we get the bank to do it or somebody else to approach them. I think it's worth it.
Because right now, it was put on the agenda as a discussion item, not necessarily as approval on a change order.
It's consideration.
Discussion, consideration.
Possible
Doing
action.
that will also reduce of what, about 600 feet
Mhm.
of line.
Yes, because again, coming this way, the sewer doesn't have to be all the way to I Road. It can come back about 150 feet from my road, okay, and then continue then all this length here. So we're saved length with on gravity again. It all helps.
So I think maybe it's worth a shot. Contacting them.
I mean, I don't know who y'all as residents and some of you who are council members. I mean, I don't know, you know, some of your constituents. I might better know the family and might be able to help out with that. I don't know what to do in that aspect.
I think it's worth a shot. Let's reach out to her and see what she says. And that's my recommendation. And then if she says no for whatever reason, then we'll go to option number 3.
That's it.
I mean, but I wanted y'all to be assured that we've tried to look at every possibility. I haven't figured out how to send Wi-Fi sewer yet, so.
So any further discussion on it, or do you want to entertain a motion? I'll entertain a motion what the city manager just mentioned.
I think that's the only viable solution.
You want to put that in the form of motion?
What was it, your,
To try approaching the people.
to approach?
If they say no still, then we'll go to option 3.
That'll be fine.
Here's a question that I ask you is, and I wish Hollis was here, but I mean, as long as we do this before February 2nd, you know, even if it's after, if it was to be after February 2nd, I mean, we need to know pretty soon because of the, so we just need to give us ourselves some sort of time frame so we can know which direction. The force main right now, it's already here. So as far as that option of keeping the sewer to here, that force main is already there. Okay? So for right now, if the Lexus was to be ready to come on board, we got everything that we need to service them. Okay, which has been a continuous concern of time frame. Okay, so as council members, if you get a call from Lexus, we're on track for their infrastructure. Okay.
The last conversation with Greg Davis is he was proposing to open April.
So we're still okay with that time frame. I mean, even if they did training a month before and all that, we're okay with that. So we don't need to. It's not like it's affecting the lift station into where we're dumping. We're simply, it's affecting on what else can we service. Or at the end of the day, we say, well, you know what? We don't get the $140,000, we don't use it. My understanding from Polis is that the moment that we close out this project, there's other grants available through EDA that the city can turn around and apply, but you can't apply until you close this one.
If we go with route 3, option 3, we're gonna be good with funds. I mean, we have enough.
He can sharpen his pencil and look at it more in detail, but I think
It's pretty tight, but I mean, it's doable. But it's still, option 2 and 3 still is dependent on Palmer.
correct. 2 and 3 are both.
Palmer is more receptive.
Assuming it doesn't mess up with this weighing station and all that. But still, the best route would be right here. No-brainer, man, by far the best route.
I agree with you, but.
So just get creative on who approaches and how they, just use a little bit of tact. It's possible, Commissioner? No?
Not me.
I think we can find somebody to do it. It could be possible.
All we're gonna do is just talk to them.
I think so, man. I think it's worth a try.
I'll reach out to the lady and see if we can entertain the idea.
Who reached out to her last time?
I want to say it was Korea.
I believe it was Mr. Cuellar.
Mr. Cuellar is the one who reached out to the board, because he's the one that contacted us and told us that.
But if you come ready with all these, diagrams and showing and everything, and look at the value and what's coming, and, it's a no-brainer, man.
Remember,
Tripling the value.
she was here when all that was happening, so it's not that she was not informed about it. I'm a little crazy here, she was here when all this happened.
Yeah, it's all brothers,
Yeah.
brothers and sisters.
For me, that'll be rational.
And the one that takes care of it, which is in the third,
Bueno. So, we move forward. We're back to that motion. What, we wanna try to approach her, read the motion, and see if that doesn't work, then we'll go to this and it has to be done.
I'd like Mr. Arjona to explore both options.
Yeah.
I'll give Palmer a call and find out what's going on with Palmer.
Right.
I agree.
That's what I'm
I
saying.
agree.
So, do you wanna take action or no, or just leave it open?
No, there's no action with the direction of Mr. Arjona approaching both.
And the next meeting will be here within the next week or so.
Yeah,
Okay.
25th.
We can always come back on the 25th and discuss the matter.
So for the records of this project, I would like to ask you to please, let's just put it in that, call it change order 4, okay? Because otherwise we're gonna run into the same issue about, well, that was never used or anything else. I already spoke with Mr. Castillo's staff, and I told him, I said, what I wish they would given us is probable cost projection number 1, probable projection number 2, for option 1, option 2, cost, rather than calling it a change order. So for your records, please, let's just call it off the table, it's not a change order, because you don't have a change order yet, number 4. Okay? So I just wanted to.
Leave it alone, or should we take it and it automatically just comes on?
Just no action.
No action? No action?
Okay, bring it back.
Entertain that motion for no action?
Second. No action, second. All in favor, signify by saying
I took it out of it.
All in favor, if I say aye?
Aye.
Motion carries. Next item, thank you, Mr. Garza.
No, thank you, and
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Discussion consideration amending the service agreement between the city and EDC to include janitorial services and fee for such services.
And that's the, Mr. President, members of the board.
if
that's
y'all don't
the,
mind, I'm sorry for interrupting, but if y'all don't mind, you could be excused.
Thank you.
You gotta go back to the office.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you. Fine. As the budget was approved, also as we discussed with the janitorial services, now there's a need to, I guess, amend the MOU that is currently in place, so we're asking permission so that, Mr. Vasquez can help us in drafting that MOU so that it can be presented to the state commission.
Well, what we'll do is, we're gonna go ahead and amend the agreement we just amended for your fees. So we'll amend that to include this, and then we'll chuck it up to the city as well.
Are we gonna see, I'm sorry, just further, are we gonna see the MOU before it's presented, or we're just going to
If you'd like
put it
to,
together and then?
if you take action to go ahead and approve this, and then ask me to give it to you or email it to you before I send it over to Mr. O'Connor for the city to approve, we can do that.
And the MOU is gonna reflect what's in the budget anyways, right?
That is correct.
Okay.
And what is that dollar amount?
500 a month. That will include the, solar services and also supplies. So that'll be a little bit of savings on the EDC on supplies.
Where, was the commission aware of this last time?
Well, I know Commissioner Fajardo and Mr. Padilla were here, and the last time we spoke about it, this item was not brought up at the meeting last time. It was just approved as presented. And there were some questions that they were brought up.
But it wasn't discussed.
No, there was an item that said it needs to be informed in the commission. I'll inform tomorrow.
And are you setting a term for this?
We usually do it for 1 year.
1 year. Okay. I'll entertain a motion to that effect.
Motion to approve as stated by Mr. O'Connor, and together Mr. Vasquez, put together the MOU.
Second?
You have a motion and a second, all in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. Next item on the agenda is discussion, consideration, possible action, if any, declaring a sponsorship for the 75th anniversary of the Santa Ana Wildlife Refuge as promotional and authorizing San Juan EDC to sponsor the 75th anniversary of Santa Ana Wildlife Refuge with promotional expense and an amount to be determined by the San Juan EDC board. Is there a flyer attached?
There is a flyer attached, Mr. President, and members of the board. It's there. We start up at $100 all the way to $5,000. And I think what we're actually doing is celebrating the 75th anniversary of their existence, of their incorporation. So it's either 5,000, 2,500, 1,000, 500, or 100. And there's different levels of recognition as to where the city EDC will be recognized, such as a flyer, website, different venues. So that's for your consideration.
What are the wishes of the board?
Mr. President, just a clarification here, so this is going to come out of what item, promotional?
Promotional.
It's a promotional item.
And what is it that we adopted in this budget on that item? What was the amount that we put in there?
And that year,
60?
Was that the 60 without incentives?
what was the promotional, was that the,
10%.
10%, it's 86,000.
86,000.
Yes, 86.
But that's where we get 50 out for that Noche de Paz, so we're left 36.
Well, not
To
only
do
that,
anything
but,
else, everything and anything else.
Yeah,
That's pretty much our baby there.
and where are we with, the Acosta restaurant?
And
Was
this is
there-
what we're gonna be talking in executive agreement,
Oh, okay.
and it doesn't come from there.
That's my question, that's.
Retail and sales.
Okay, it doesn't come from.
Now, there's gonna be another sponsor coming here pretty soon, on the next meeting, from the PSA, partner that they're gonna be.
So currently, from the 86, we subtract 30, we leave that with 36. Is there anything else for you now?
No, we'll get one of these every meeting, I guarantee you. We have, that's been my experience since I got here.
Every meeting.
So how do we divide this?
Boy, Santana, right? This is, you know what's gonna happen with that border wall proposal. Whatever the wishes of the board are.
Can I say something?
Yes, ma'am.
Do you want me to, if you all don't wanna donate anything, do you want to take them a cake? And.
Take 'em a cake?
Um,
It's an actual event that's gonna
Yeah.
go on? Party or something?
yeah, and I know it belongs to Alamo, but it's just a question that I'm asking.
Any ideas? No? Want to give them something? Nothing? 500? 1,000?
Is the city entertaining, an option to participate in this?
This has not been brought up to our attention, so at this point, no.
This was sent directly to you, Ms. Patterson, or should it?
They brought it here to the conference.
Yes, thank you.
I'm good with whatever you want. I don't know, I mean,
Entertain a motion, go ahead. Say it. Something, nothing? An amount?
That didn't take us left. Just because our budget's coming down, it's just kind of actually something else.
Now, I know I brought this up before in reference to mini grants, those are coming out of where?
We're probably gonna have to make a separate project for that. But figure out where the money's gonna have to come from. Got to move money around.
At the moment, can it come out of promotional expenses? or-
Not on the mini grants. That'll probably be on the, retail incentives.
If you do a separate one, or we could try to get it out of promotion, like, well, if you want, we'd have to do a separate project.
Right.
Out of that. You don't have, either way, you don't have a lot of money to play with, right? It's 36,000 and then you have, what, 30 in retail? Or 40? Yeah.
Retail, we wanna collect
Say it.
at 60.
Looking into the one the big billion.
I motion for $500.
there you go.
Got a motion for $500 and a second. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. Thank you. $500.
Oh, who seconded?
I did.
Okay.
Okay. Number 7, discussion, consideration, possible action, if any, pursuant to section 551.087, deliberation regarding economic development negotiations. Discuss or deliberate current, future, and/or pending projects regarding commercial or finance information which the EDC is conducting economic development negotiations. Oh,
So make sure the, thing here is that it's, promotional or, development negotiation discussing all, like, put in an executive session.
I'll make the motion to.
Second. And we'll go pursuant to 551.087 of the Texas Department of Code.
okay, pursuant to section 551.087, there's a motion and a second to go into executive session. All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
We now go into executive session. We started working now, it's now 8 o'clock. We now call this meeting, we're out of executive session, we're back to the regular meeting. We did not take any action on item number 7, so no action is required. Next item on the agenda is adjourn.
So moved, Mr. President.
Motion to adjourn, a second.
If I may, the, next meeting, is that gonna be?
Thank you for.
It's on the 25th.
25th.
It's already set.
Yeah, we said
25th?
25th.
Thank you, Mr.
What time, Martha, do you recall?
5:30.
5:30? Okay.
Got a motion and a second to adjourn, all in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Motion carries.
And I guess next meeting we'll discuss meetings.
Yes.